All right, what happens when Jesus Christ returns? So far, we have seen these various things. Three categories we've really thought of. What do we believe before we ever get the book of Revelation? One, we believe in the first coming of Christ. Satan was bound in some sense. He remains in some way restrained. He's fighting back. He's still doing things, but he is in some way restrained through the course of this age. But towards the end, that restraint will be let go. He will be completely unleashed, and that will give rise to the Antichrist, the deceiving of the whole lost world, and ultimately that will only be solved by Christ returning. We see that during this age, Christ is reigning in heaven. We also see that during this age, the gospel is advancing in strife. It is being battled every step of the way, but it is advancing, and it will advance until there are souls saved from every tribe, tongue, language on earth, and it is going into the nations, bringing people from death to life, and they are being, in the language of Ephesians 2, that it is raising the dead, and he is lifting us up and seating us in the heavenly places with Jesus Christ. That's what we've seen so far. Now we're saying, we're going to start over here. We're going to make a list. What happens when Jesus returns? At least what do we understand before we get the book of Revelation? And we're going to start in the Thessalonians, 1 Thessalonians chapter 4. And this is a familiar passage to you. It's starting in chapter 4, verse 13. It says, "But we do not want you to be uninformed, brothers, about those who are asleep." He means Christians who have died. "That you may not grieve as others do who have no hope. For since we believe that Jesus died and rose again, even so through Jesus, God will bring with him those who have fallen asleep. For this we declare to you by a word from the Lord, that we who are alive, who are left until the coming of the Lord, will not precede those who have fallen asleep. For the Lord himself will descend from heaven with a cry of command, with the voice of an archangel, and with the sound of the trumpet of God, and the dead in Christ will rise first. Then we who are alive, who are left, will be caught up together with them in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air, and so we will always be with the Lord. Therefore, encourage one another with these words." Right? So the first thing we see that's going to happen when Christ returns is the resurrection of the dead. Now, I believe, based on other scriptures, that this is not merely the resurrection of believers that's going to turn at Christ's return, but since we are going to try to stick with what we can agree on, then you feel free to just think of this as the resurrections of those who have died in believing in Jesus Christ, if that's what you want. But he is going to raise the dead when he returns. By the way, if you believe in a pre-tribulation rapture, this is a difficult verse because he's saying that before the rapture happens, right? Now, granted, seconds before, but before the rapture happens, there's the resurrection of believers. And I believe in their scheme that doesn't play out quite like that. But anyways, so the resurrection. The next thing, if you'll flip over to 2 Thessalonians, we see in 2 Thessalonians chapter 1, it said, let's start in verse 5.